Even on a Thursday without Justin. We're here live for a happy hour. Now, this is always a weird one because it's just me. Justin is wrapping up DTNS. He's going to just pop in like a Jack in the Box at some random moment. And wait, pop out. Pop out? Yeah, sure. But so whatever questions you have in the chat, go ahead and throw them at me. Hey, by the way, it's me, Brian Brushwood. The last thing that we said before we hung up yesterday, after we spent an hour discussing what was and was not a novelty song. By the way, I love where we ended up on that. The realization that all novelty songs were novel, but calling him a novelty song was really just a slur against it. And so as soon as we hung up, I was like, oh, shoot, we didn't even get to the topic of mashups and whether or not mashups are novelty songs. Hold on. As a matter of fact, Meryl Barr, do me a favor. Go ahead and hop on that link and join me if you feel like it. Meryl Barr called me yesterday. Like after me berating him to just finish the script and just finish the crappy version of it, he is now returning the favor. So we could talk about that. But what other city in Texas would I live in is one of the questions here. I did live in Houston mostly growing up. Oh boy, all I remember is just how humid and hot it was. It was awful. I didn't dig it. Am I shaving my eyebrows? No, but of course we've talked about how my daughter wants to. Although I do wonder, if it I think I'm starting to notice that a little bit of gray is creeping in on there, which at the tender age of nearly 50, it's probably about time. In the chat, they're saying sampling a song would be considered real artistry, so not just novelty, right? I would say yes, given the fact that I believe Rick James' Super Freak never won a Grammy, but You Can't Touch This did. And Super Freak never hit #1, but You Can't Touch This did. And in fact, retroactively, MC Hammer had to share some stuff on there. Is that a Meryl Barr I'm hearing?
It is a Meryl Barr. Should I get on the Skype, or do you want
to? We'll just break things if I put you on the Skype. See, you could be a disembodied. The ghost of Meryl
I'll be
Barr.
A disembodied voice. I'll be a disembodied voice. I'll get the chat loaded on my phone so I can just read.
There you go. So you can see at least that much. How you been, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Have you done any?
I
was just teasing in the chat. I mean, if you want to talk about this, we can talk.
No. I don't think there's much to talk about outside of.
I am berated. I have taken over the duties of making sure Brian actually writes his damn book. That's the.
I did like the fact that you asked, "What have you done on the book since we last talked?" And to most people, this answer would be totally unsatisfactory. But I said, I've been thinking about it. And you were like, good. like that made me very, very happy.
It's like what Cargill says, how the majority of writing is thinking. He talks about that on Twitter all the time. And it's true. I mean, I'm still, until I start writing words, I'm still thinking about that script. It's in card form on the board, and I'm now going over those bad cards I wrote to turn them into good cards that then can become an outline that can then become a script. It's a whole process. I may, as Cargill would call it, a planner versus a pantser.
A pantser?
So Cargill has it's on. He talks about it on his writing podcast. There's two kinds of writers in his eyes. There's planners and pantsers. Planners are the kind who need to write outlines and do all the world building and everything before they get started. Pantsers, i.e. seat of your pants, flying by the seat of your pants, just say like I'm gonna start and I'm just gonna write and I don't know where I'm going. I'm just gonna go. Like that's and both methods are equally valid and both you end up doing an equal amount of time to get to the end of the script because planners rewrite less than pantsers do. Pantsers, and I personally can't write there's so the I used to write without outlines and then I discovered the magic of outlines. And the thing that I discovered was the outline allowed me to build the house, and the script was the interior decoration of the house.
Uh,
Whereas
I, I,
before
I
that point,
I've discovered, and it's interesting because we do both types of shows. I mean, Night Attack is deliberately a pantser show as an exercise, but whereas something like Scam Nation needs to be a planner exercise. Hopefully, so well polished that you have to sell the product at the beginning. But what I've discovered in putting anything together is the value of the phrase "a thing that does blank." So it's like you can describe. Let's take the two parts of the Avengers Endgame or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Or all of the Avengers, right? A thing that brings together independent characters for whatever reason.
Well, that's your hook, right? That's your insight. That's your. Well,
Well,
I
no,
don't
no,
know
no,
if that's
but
your
but, but
insight. I
that's
guess
also a beat. Is
right.
hey, let's not worry about the reason that they all get together. But then it's like the next bullet point is a thing that makes them fight. And it's like I can't even remember why they were fighting in the very first thing, but I remember that I was like, "Ooh, they're fired up," and then it's
Right.
followed
Well,
by
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing
So
that brings
that's
them together, followed
well,
by
those are the. I mean, that you're basically describing an early stages outline where it's you build the pillars of like this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. Now, how do we get from A to B? How do we get from B to C? Sometimes some people will go, okay, how do I go from D to C? How do I go backwards? Because sometimes it's easier to go backwards than forwards. Because you can go, well, I don't know what happens after C, but I know what happens right before D. So I'm gonna put that one in.
So,
Okay, now I can
that's an interesting exercise. So it's like that. So let's go to um
which, by
because
the way, I was thinking about. I'll call you. I'm gonna call you after happy hour because I came up with another thing I should tell you about the book.
yeah.
That relates to this about but we'll. It's an off mic
Well,
discussion.
well, I think
Unless you want to have it on. Unless you want to
no,
have it
no,
on
no, no,
mic.
no. I think we're actually going to do a bonus. Jason and I just finished playing The Last of Us 2, and I think we're going to do a conversation, kind of a breakdown on that. But the idea of going backwards is interesting because then you could take an established movie and say like okay, spoiler alert, by the way, for the last scene of the entire movie, like every single Marvel hero you've ever seen or heard of is on an alien planet battling existential threat, and then you could step backwards saying, why did that happen? And then you could
Right.
come up with like oh well, because they're trying to undo a great disaster that killed half the universe. And you're like, okay, why did that happen? And then you could
Right.
walk it back.
Exactly.
And but what's great is if you start with that end scene and walk backwards, you could come up with different reasons for why they're all there. You know,
Right. And the other thing is there are certain.
for example, you could end with that same last scene and end up with going backwards the entire Secret Wars 1.0 franchise, where it's like because the Beyonder assembled them for a giant tournament and they eventually turned against the Beyonder.
Yeah, and you see how suddenly kind of by going backwards, it actually gets a little easier to come up with random shit because you're thinking of a new way to do it. Um, that's that. I mean, and for example, there are certain genres where it's beneficial to break that way, like say a mystery, right? You want to start with the answer to the mystery, and then go backwards to build the mystery, so that way you know what you're building
Well,
towards.
and so in magic terms, we would think of this as the way Teller put it once was place 2 plus 2 in front of me, convince me it's 5, then reveal the truth 4 and blow me away. So in that regard, you could start with the end set piece and then say, okay, what is the truth that got us there? And then as you write backwards, you're like, what are a million lies I can tell that will lead up to this moment?
Right. And the other key thing to keep in mind, especially when you're when you're writing an outline, it's like it works when you're writing the actual document as well. You don't have to answer, you don't have to go in order. This was a freeing thing. It's on it's on the first episode of Word Tetris. Actually, I was sitting down with John Rogers, who created Leverage, and at a time was show running the King Killer show that got disbanded. And now he's doing Leverage again, which
Wait,
is
hold
I
on.
love that.
Sorry, the King Killer show. What?
The King Killer show that was supposed to be on Showtime that ended up not that did a whole thing, and then Showtime was like,
I
we don't
didn't
want.
know it got undone.
It's
We're
basically
talking about the Name of the Wind, right?
uh uh I guess whatever the first book is called, King Killer Chronicles. But basically,
Wow.
they weren't doing a game, but they weren't doing the book. So basically, there was going to be I think it was Sam Raimi was the last anyone heard. Sam Raimi was attached to do the movies, and then they were going to do a companion TV show that took place like generations before the events of the books. That's what John's show was. And then what happened was over at the same time, Showtime was also doing the Halo show, which is a thing that's in production. Uh, because what Showtime realized was we can't keep being the Ray Donovan network. Like Ray Donovan's great, we love Ray Donovan. We
Sorry,
like
that's too Hollywood. You're speaking
think
too
about
too
okay. I'm sorry.
Hollywood. I
Think
don't know
about
who.
think about Showtime. When was the last time you've ever seen genre on Showtime?
I mean, ask me when. Wait, didn't they do? No, that was Stars that did Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah. Showtime.
Oh no,
doesn't do-
it was Dexter.
That's not genre. That's procedure.
What?
That's
Come on.
Dexter's a procedural.
All right, man.
Dexter's a procedural. Showtime does not do fantasy sci-fi type stuff. It's just never been in their bag, and that's fine. They're not that, but they realized they needed to. They need to do a couple, so they decided to commission Halo and King Killer at the same time. And then they went through that process, the development process, and then they got further along on Halo before King Killer, and then they realized, oh, these things require to do them right. They require like a lot of focus and attention. We cannot do two of these at once. So they ended up choosing Halo because that was further along.
Well,
and King Killer,
and also the better known franchise. I mean,
right, and and then King Killer fell off. So I mean, they're still as far as the last I heard, they were trying to shop what they had done, like what they had so far. But as of now, it doesn't have a home right now. So anyway, so John,
the King Killer project, like full stop, doesn't have a home.
The show. I don't know if the movie's still going, but the show is definitely stalled.
Yeah, the deal that I remember hearing was like a 9-digit deal or something that included
Lionsgate
a video
bought
game.
the rights.
Yeah.
So Lionsgate has the rights to the IP.
Yeah.
And so Lionsgate is doing a bunch of different things with it. So back to John. So we were talking one day, and John was like, "Yeah, here's how I like to write. I like having an outline because I'll wake up and go, what scene do I want to write today?" And instead of going in order, he goes, I want, and he goes and writes that scene, whatever that scene is.
I want to tell a vignette about somebody who has regret about masturbating in public or whatever, and then you figure out how that fits into the big thing. Hey, Justin, are you on audio?
I am here.
Okay, we were just talking about kind of the two types. This is Cargill's theory of what was it? Planners and pantsers.
Planners versus pantsers.
Yeah,
and so
pantsers fly by the seat of their pants like we do on Night Attack. Planners have outlines and they begin with the ending in mind. But one of the most interesting ideas we were talking about is how you can write both forward and backward. And I took the Avengers as an example. And look, okay, why can we take these characters, put them together, and why can we make them fight, and then why can we make them make up, and then why can whatever. But then going backwards, I realized you could come up with really interesting, bizarre answers. Like take the very last scene of the last Avengers movie. Like, okay, why is every character from all of the Marvel universe on an alien planet fighting an existential threat? And you could answer, well, because, and go backwards, and you could end up with Secret Wars instead of the whole Thanos cycle.
Right.
Well, that was a thing that the Russo brothers were just saying, that Secret Wars not only was their inspiration for Infinity War, that they wanted they wanted to build something at the kind of scale of what they loved about Secret Wars, but also that Secret Wars would be the only thing that could get them back to do a Marvel movie at this point, because they love Secret Wars so much.
Which is so amazing to me because boy, is it in my experience, I am one of 3 people who deeply love everything about the Secret, like because I was talking to people who are more experienced than me at all times, all of them, and because it was a naked cash grab to sell toys and invent new toys or whatever, everybody hated it, but I love Secret Wars 1, and I loved even Secret Wars 2 an awful lot. The idea of a childlike, I want to learn to be a human.
I'm probably opening up a can of worms, so I'm going to ask a question, but let me finish my thing, and then I want you to answer it. I don't actually know the Secret Wars arc, but so that may open up a can of worms.
Oh no, yeah. Well, so the
But let me finish it. So John wakes up and John goes, "I want to write that scene." And when you have a detailed outline, you can go, "Well, I know what happened right before this scene I want to write. I know where it needs to go." So there's no reason you can't write that scene today instead of going in order and writing, like, you hitting a boring part and going, "I don't want to do the boring part." Jury, without naming it, the scripts you read of mine that you love, it was written that way. And actually the most impactful scene of the script that happens at the end of the pilot, you know the scene I'm talking about. Assuming you remember it. Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote, because I was like, I need to write this scene first, because this will set the tone for everything. And it ends up being my best script because it's like I focused on what I wanted to write and not what I had to write. And you end up getting a really interesting product that way.
Hey, a real quick reminder, Meryl, questions end with a question mark.
Right. All right, here's the question. What is the Secret Wars arc? Because I don't know.
Oh, man. Gather around the campfire, children.
Yeah, I mean, no. Let's preface this that I think there was a more recent one. They did a new Secret Wars thing that was a little bit more intricate than the fairly 1950s Pow Zap setup of the original Secret Wars.
The Pow Zap secret. So what happened was the setup was okay. The purpose: invent new toys and refresh costumes and have a mysterious reason why all of a sudden everybody's more awesome looking and they're selling stuff. The way they did it was across all of the comics in the Marvel Universe, people would be like, "That's curious. What's that? Zap. They're vanished. I wonder where they went." And then next episode, everybody just showed up and said, like, "That was a crazy adventure we had in the Secret Wars. Spider-Man suddenly has a brand new, different costume. Dr. Doom looks more badass and everything." And then separately was like a 9-issue series called Secret Wars. And like nobody, and I guess the reason they called it Secret Wars is because like none of the individual comic books wanted to have to write or explain everything. All they had to, like all you got to know is that they zapped away and they came back changed, looking like this. They were at the Secret Wars, and it's like, okay. And then a separate team is like, all right, we're gonna write the story of the Secret Wars, and the Secret Wars was zap. Everyone shows up. A being assembles a planet out of pieces of thousands of other planets. So you make it like 2 or 3 acres, and you were in desert, and now you're in a mountain, and now you're in the ruins of a techno city, and whatever.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yo, what up? My name is the Beyonder. I am a literal universe, and I thought I was everything, but then I discovered there's you guys in a different universe. So because I'm super cool, I stole all of you from your universe. I assembled this planet. I assembled you into two camps conveniently, villains and heroes, some who become one or come to the other, and they're like, y'all fight, and whoever wins will get 10% of my power. Wasn't that the reward? Like
I don't even. Yeah,
So
I can't remember.
I thought Secret Wars was a thing where the Skrulls came in and were like pretending to be a bunch of people, and then they figure it out and shit. Is
no,
not Secret
that's
Wars?
sort of the
No.
that's just a general Fantastic Four
Yeah,
ongoing plot line.
that's just every scroll story.
Yeah.
Is the
Okay.
scrolls are fucking some shit up because they're able to shapeshift. No, Secret War was again a naked cash grab. But and so the initial setup was just like what would the ultimate fight look like? And they they assemble a planet full of different set pieces. I mean planet parts and and then everybody can be awesome and fight and have really cool fights that you'd never really thought of or seen before, but it was a gigantic event and in the way that comics, few industries can fuck something out as fast as comics can. Like when they get a hit, like if comics ran the music industry, like the second that there's an Elvis Presley wiggling his hips, every fucking music artist would wiggle their hips and wear white fucking jumpsuits. Like that would be like comics love to fuck that shit out, and they certainly did with that. And it's crossover events have become their own. Like, God, I kind of loathe them as much as I hate them because I know that comics are smart enough to give me what I want and show me something fresh and interesting, but also they're going to make me stretch it out over fucking 15 different issues, half of which are boring and dumb.
I am seeing the chat say what I was thinking was Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion, yeah. Well, so but Secret Wars, we could spoil a 40-year-old franchise, right?
Sure.
What happens is out of everybody, Doctor Doom deceives and tricks the Beyonder and just full on takes his power. And it's like, anyway,
that's why Doom is one of the most powerful villains like in the universe that I've never seen on screen.
Yeah. Well, and
someone always talks about him.
Well,
because Doom is the smartest, and that's what none of the movies have ever really captured. Mostly because those movies are written by non-comic fans. Is that Doctor Doom is Doctor Doom and Lex Luthor are both compelling as comic book characters because they're so brilliant. You find yourself thinking like, I mean, would the world be so terrible if they took it over? Like, they're definitely like, yeah, a few more people would be killed because they got angry at them. But like, they're really smart. They're definitely smarter than the heroes that are stopping them from totally collapsing all world power. And that's something that none of the Fantastic Four movies for sure have ever. They've always told him as more of a vain character because they get obsessed with the fucking mask and all that shit. And like it's a jealous character because there is jealousy in his storyline, but it's more like, Elon Musk got dumped in fucking middle school and now he's, used that to make Tesla kind of way. Not like I'm so mad at these other famous people.
Well, and so the bulk of the series, Meryl, is there's infighting, because there's mutant factions and the heroes and it's like there's a bunch of like, well, we should be on the same team, and then meanwhile Doom ends up usurping the power of the Beyonder, so he has all the power of an entire universe, and so he just bolt out of the blue. All of the heroes are just blown up at once, like end of episode. And then, but he's got this literally insane sidekick named Claw, who, uses sonic whatever powers. And then Doom leans back on his throne, says, well, I did it. I got all the power in the universe. I am a universe. I'm beyond Doom. I totally won. And then Claw says something along the lines of like, maybe. And Doom's like, WTF you're talking about? I totally blew up all of those heroes. They're all definitely dead. And then Claw says, let me tell you just a crazy hypothetical. Think Pepe Silva. Oh my God. How great would Charlie Day be as Claw? He was
Good Claw.
he says, let me tell you a crazy story. I mean, imagine there's a pregnant moment right before that explosion, and maybe out of everyone, only one mutant by the name of Colossus is smart enough to randomly turn into metal, so he doesn't quite die. He's the only one standing. But man, it seemed like that base was outfitted with a lot of crazy alien equipment that might be able to individually heal and repair one by one each of those heroes. And quietly, while you've been sitting on this throne, they've done all of that. And then Doom's like, and then anyway, he keeps on spinning that tail, and he goes, and wouldn't it be crazy if they were just about to attack right now? And then Doom realizes, like, motherfucker, you saying these words is putting this in my subconscious. I have the power of a universe at my command, and parts of my brain that I don't control. What have you done? Next scene, the walls kick in, and it's every hero just kicking ass. It's nice. So I always dug that.
And JDS3K in the chat says that was Andy Serkis's character. That
he played the
Black
MCU version of Claw, but that, because of rights and everything, that's not quite the Claw that is like the Doctor Doom sidekick, but in a lot of ways where a lot of characters have played different versions of themselves.
I can see how that's a movie I want to watch,
right? Yeah. And then
well, apparently what they're doing, there was a whole new version that had is more about like the multiverses and everything, and I think that's the rumor is the next big MCU cycle is going to build to this multiverse idea where now all these people fight, but the word on the street is that what makes that super cool is like, now that Disney owns Fox and Disney owns all these other properties, now like that's your Hugh Jackman as Wolverine shows up. Like that's where,
and I think I think the talk with this, which is why the Doctor Strange movie, the new one, is going to be like Multiverse of Madness or whatever.
There was a brief rumor flying around. I don't know where it's at. You may know the latest on it, Meryl, but there was talk about doing, before a good Fantastic Four movie, they were going to do a Doom movie and make
that. I think
somebody was attached.
I think that ties into like the pre-Disney purchase, where Fox and Sony each were going to take their expanded universe of lore from Fantastic Four on the Fox side and X-Men on Fox side, and then Spider-Man and Sony said they were going to build their own universes using that lore, and then Disney swooped in and bought Fox and then worked out a deal with Sony. So Sony can still do it, but Fox basically was like, well, we're not doing that anymore.
Oh, yeah. No, and that was Noah Hawley, Legion.
Yes.
And, Fargo and everything.
Dude,
so yeah,
correct.
he was going to do a Doom movie, but I agree. That was before.
We've said this before, but I know you have no public opinion about the movie whatsoever, Justin. But to me, the greatest gift that Captain Marvel gave the world is the ability to. I guess Captain America had already done it to set things in different time periods or whatever. But I would love beyond words a Cold War era 1950s 1960s Fantastic Four unironic movie that ends with a zapping forward in time to 2020 where they're fish out of water and then confused why they're not celebrities and and famous and rich and all of that stuff.
The only issue you have to deal with that is a retcon. Because technically, granted, the MCU has retconned themselves about 3 different times now.
But they get to do that once they introduce multiverse, right? So it's like maybe it's not a time travel; it's a verse travel thing, right?
Yeah. Which they established like in Endgame, where they technically when they time travel, they don't time travel on their line. They're time traveling to a new line.
Right. They
universe.
engage in the many worlds theory, and they say, don't worry about messing up. You're messing up other people's timelines, not ours. So go nuts.
Right. Also, Justin, I didn't know you had no public opinion of Captain Marvel. Why is that?
It's a religious choice, and I thank you to stay the fuck out of it.
All right, so it's fun. You know what, Brian? It's fun. It's apt that you asked me to come on, because you guys should know I was curious, and I have finally, because what else am I going to do in quarantine? I finally started watching the NSFW backlogs.
Oh, goodness.
Which I've never done.
Hang on.
Okay. Hang on. There's a particular reason I'm bringing this up, because I just last night did episode 4, which is the world records episode.
Oh yeah,
we got a letter.
Where
you got a kid to puke on screen trying to
yeah.
Gatorade.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I clapped and howled, because it's just the most perfect payoff to that moment.
We had moments. I will not deny that we had moments, but boy, that's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what also happened was, when I started watching, I did 2 episodes, and then I DM'd Jury, because I was like, okay, do you guys actually explain the Frodo Baggins picture, or is this just a bit that you guys are doing to? And then Jury responds, maybe. I'm like, I hate you. And then last night I did episode 6, which is the GTFO awards. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, because I don't want to.
Yeah. There is an eventual payoff for it. It was going to be a story we told, and then it wound up becoming way funnier as the apologies to Matt Damon.
Yes. Did you predate the apologies to Matt Damon, or was that happening at the same time?
Oh, that had to be ahead of us.
I would, yeah. Oh, yeah. Almost certainly
because
he
started. He started in the aughts, and we were in the teens.
Yeah. That shit did happen the night before the first NSFW, though. That lady who wanted Frodo Baggins signed on her tits. That was a real moment that happened, hours before we did our first show. So that was a real story that was semi-funny, but it was never going to be as funny as just fucking teasing it week after week after week. Cause it is such a funny picture that, this chick is really, really excited to have Frodo Baggins signed on her tits.
The other thing I really appreciate about those early NSFW episodes is you guys have the same, issue I have with my early podcast, which is just wanting to talk so much, just no dead air, gotta talk. So I just did the Mark Maron episode.
Oh yeah,
where it's a great interview, but Brian cuts off Mark a lot.
Yeah, well, now I know how Mark Maron feels.
Yeah.
I feel closer to Mark Maron than ever before in my life. So Secret Wars 2. In that one, they had the Beyonder, instead of a self-contained limited edition, what they did is they had the Beyonder come to Earth to try to understand Earthlings, and so that was the beginning of sort of an event was happening across all of the different comic books. So it's like the Beyonder shows up and meets Spider-Man for 3 or 4 episodes and learns a lesson about compassion and photography, and and then he meets the Fantastic Four and decides to, what if you combined all your powers, or what if I swapped all your powers, or whatever.
But it was like the Beyonder. You know how Australian people get 2 months off a year, and they just their vacations are a month long. It was basically like that, like the Beyonder visiting Europe or America as an Australian and just fucking hanging out for a while.
Oh my God, the chat's going nuts. They're pointing out that yes, he does have Jerry curls, and yes, he did. Spider-Man taught him how to poop in his episode. It's amazing because he's like a god man baby in the that whole arc. Which some people love, some people did not.
But I can see how that all of that. Well, I don't know about the pooping, teaching someone how to poop, but I think that all of that would make for a very.
Gotta fill pages, Meryl. Gotta fill pages. He's got to do something. Hey, speaking of movie stuff.
Yes.
I know, Brian, you and I had a bit of a scancy pants look at the first Bill and Ted 3 trailer.
Oh, is there a new
Did
one?
you see the new one?
No. Let's break it down.
Much. I am far happier with this version of the trailer than the other one. Also, now
I actually
like
want to watch it now.
Well,
Yeah,
let's do so. Trailer 2. There we go. I thought the conceit for Face the Music was fine.
it was just the moments. I mean, like that's Bill and Ted as a franchise is so much built on the energy of Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. Like there's, you just want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of bringing it back is like, look, they're different guys. That's different energy. That's very young man energy. So like, how do you even make old Bill and Ted?
I just took it as what if we're following the adventures of the two of them that followed the wrong timeline that never paid off, and we're watching a heist movie. And
so yeah, I think it's here. Go ahead and watch
all right, here we go.
When your wives suggested couples therapy, do you think that this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
Bill, Ted, enough of the delusions. You didn't time travel, and you didn't go to heaven and hell. Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughters. Get real jobs.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Ted, we have a destiny to fulfill.
Whoa!
Greetings, my excellent friend. We have a problem.
Step forward. A song created by Preston Logan, performed tonight, will save reality as we know it.
Oh. Dude, we better write that song now. Or why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
And take it from ourselves.
Except, won't that be stealing?
Cheers! How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
Dude, our dads are totally in trouble. We should help them out.
No way!
That's the key word. They said our dads are totally in trouble. So we get that teen element, that next generation.
Oh no, wait, keep going, keep
Okay,
going.
all right.
Going, Bill and Ted.
We're putting together a most extraordinary band.
Hey, you want to be in our band?
Oh,
this is ja fantastisch.
Oh shit!
gonna
So
go
they're doing
talk
the
to
first
Dad.
movie.
Is he playing hopscotch by himself? Dude, he's cheating. Hey, Dad.
Life, it isn't a wild stallion.
Let's rock!
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
All right. Wait, hold on.
How you doing?
well, we're dead and we're in hell.
But how you doing?
We're good.
The thing that I think makes that is that we finally have their children involved. So we're seeing that element,
I think,
which we
yeah,
didn't
and
have.
also the idea that let's do Bill and Ted 1 as a side plot.
Right.
Like, I'm all in for. I'm like, because if there's anything that I think kind of drags about the first Bill and Ted, it's like once you get like what happens when two stoners have the ultimate cram session, it's like it really is carried by the performances of the historical figures. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not as great. But you know where it's going, and it's really kind of carried by the performances. Where it's like, I don't give a fuck if the daughters are great actresses; they seem charming in the trailer. But it's like if it's the side plot, fuck yeah, no, come on, bring all the crazy historical characters.
This does follow the impression that the first one gave, which is this is a heist movie. It's like, go visit the daughter of Beethoven, and she's, blowing on a flute and says, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." You know?
All right, totally.
It's like,
But yeah, this one I was like, the energy felt kind of there on a level that the first one didn't click for me, and I'm thrilled.
Along that line, I don't know if we talked about it on air, but man, oh man, does the Red Band trailer for Tijuana Jackson pop? It's great. It felt very funny.
Oh no, I mean the explosive use of profanity from both Regina Hall and Romany Malco is kind of uncommon and unparalleled. And if that is
so
that movie
seen, have you seen
no
your bit in it yet?
Haven't
well, no, we saw
we lived it.
We saw daily. We saw like we saw basically like an iPhone video of the scene, and it's like, wow, that does look like daytime, and we do look like meth addicts, and we do have 30 seconds of back and forth. Yeah,
we're actors now. We're qualified to talk on anything now.
Yeah, I mean the idea. I'm just rooting for that movie's success, obviously because of our connection to it, but also just, God, it would be so amazing for Romany to just have like a gigantic, like earth crushing win like that.
Keep in mind, like, okay, travel back in time. You and I get teleported by a telephone booth to the future. We meet Rufus, and he says, Brian, Justin, do you know that you were in the #1 movie of 2020? And they're like, and he's like, what? What? And then he's like, anyway, bye. And then Justin and I say to each other, how would that be possible? And we'd say, well, it'd have to be a bit part. Yes, of course. With somebody who's an up-and-coming actor who was going to very unconventionally make a movie. And then there would literally have to be a global pandemic that shut down all movie theaters so that only the VOD market defined what was the top movie of the year. And it's like, well, like all of that might happen. And then flash forward to the best reality, which is the one we live in.
I mean, I'm not even, Meryl, you know this. Like, I'm not even fucking kidding that we should run for your consideration shit for Regina Hall and Romany Malco.
I mean, you can and you should. Like,
there is a chance that fucking literally 20 movies come out.
How much is an ad on How much is an ad on Deadline.com? Look that up and then just buy a banner ad and just throw up a banner ad.
And that's it.
Like fundraise a banner ad on Deadline.
So breaking news here. Apparently, I'm not leaving California in August for the Republican National Convention because it apparently has been canceled.
No, really?
Trump cancels Republican convention activities in Jacksonville. There will not be a Republican convention. Either in events in North Carolina will still be held, and he will do an acceptance speech in a different form. I looked at my team. I said the timing for this event is not right. It's just not right to have a big convention. It's not the right time. This is very much a part of his new strategy to kind of not be cavalier, reopen America guy, but instead I am taking the virus serious guy.
Which, by the way, crowds out a certain person hiding in his basement.
We'll see. I mean, I said on the PX3 extra today that I don't see a world where this can hurt Trump. I think his bet was that by August, people would be excited to get back to normal. We're not there. So it would be foolhardy for him to just charge along with it. Although by Trump's standards, this is a tremendous fucking throw it in reverse.
But also, I mean, since when has that ever hurt him on anything? To just say the exact opposite of what he had just said 20 minutes ago.
Yes, fair point.
Expanding on the politics thing for a second, Jerry.
Yeah.
The new proposed stimulus that's out, the GOP one. How much is them announcing? Well, they didn't announce it; it was leaked, or whatever the Hill reported it. Doing a 70% income as the but as the new way they want to do the unemployment insurance, but not announcing a cap on that, because that would mean that certain workers would actually get more than 600 without a cap. How much of that is just them trying to hold Senate seats at this point?
I don't know if there's really much beyond the fact that apparently there is a school of thought in the Senate amongst the Senate Republicans that they believe the economy would start slower if people were making more via payments from the government than they would working. And so they were very much, even in March, wanted to set the unemployment benefit at where you lost your job, because that way they would always know that it was slightly less than what you got when you were working, because they want people to not wait for these programs to end. They want them to go back to work. So I think that, to me, it's not much deeper than that. Now, as for a cap, who knows? I mean, even the Hill reporting didn't really have much on it. It was like 1 or 2 sentences, and we haven't read the text of it. It would not shock me if there's a cap, because it's not like they're giving out the direct payments to people that are making a lot of money, and this round will be for even less. So this isn't, I think the corporate welfare comes more in the in the Paycheck Protection Program money than it does on the unemployment benefit.
Okay. So it's not as I wasn't sure if it was just them trying to make a populist move to try and gain some goodwill, but also that makes more sense to me anyway.
Did I read right that that there's actual there's vaccines that have been proven to be safe, or first phase proven to be safe, not necessarily proven to be effective, but like this accelerated Herculean effort to move forward very quickly is starting to bear fruit?
Well, it's literally bearing fruit in the fact that the vaccines are being produced as we speak. The thing that the federal government did is say, all right, the way that vaccines normally work is people get sick, and then we research a vaccine. That takes about 7 to 8 months. By the time that it's approved, it's probably another 1.5 years. And then at that 1.5 year mark, we begin producing the vaccine, because this is normally just on the drug companies to produce the vaccine, to lay out the money to produce the vaccine. So by the time that actually rolls off the line, you're talking about 2 years from the point when the sickness was bad enough that they needed to start making a vaccine. What they're doing here is they are starting to roll anything that passes phase 2. There's 3 phases. Anything that passes phase 2 and now enters phase 3.
So phase 1 is safe, phase 2 is effective, and then what's phase 3? Mass.
Phase 3 is larger human trials, and looking to see whether or not there's any long-term effects from the people that you did phase 1 and phase 2 with.
So I just took so I'd previously taken the antibody test because I had that cold that had been lingering for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever. I was still feeling it. And then we eventually found out that my problem was that I had lost weight and my eustachian tubes are big and floppy like a hot dog in a hallway. But now, just yesterday, I had to take a full-on active COVID test because we're about to do the Wizard Academy class, and there's only going to be, I think, 11 people in the class. Normally it's like 30 or 40. But everybody has to take the test, and you have to get your results before in time and all that stuff. And so there's I got a link. I hit a button. I did a thing. A thing showed up overnight. And you can't just spit into a tube and send it in. It's like, no. You have to call in to this Zoom meeting and have somebody walk you through the process. And it was a 15-minute goddamn process that I did sitting in front of the UPS store, where the ladies obviously done this all day long, and you have to put a lot of spit in there. And
really?
So, yeah. Like it's I don't know. Picture a vial. It's in audio listeners. Imagine I'm holding my fingers about an inch apart, like an inch deep of spit, and she's clarifying, also can't be bubbly. You got to. Here's the right way to like think of lemons and then squeeze and then kind of start and then let it drip in or whatever. And and like they have to witness every part of this. And then it's like, now put it in the biohazard bag. Now seal off the biohazard bag. Now take the alcohol swab and rub it up. And let me see you rub it all over the parts that you possibly could have contaminated with other DNA. And then now put it in the bag. And then it's like, yeah, whatever. Now walk into the UPS store and drop that off. If you feel like it, get a receipt. It was an hour-long ordeal. It was
wow.
And part of it was because there was some confusion about.
And was this state-run or was this a private?
It's a private lab and it's a private academy. So I like basically. For everybody coming to the class, it's like, well, the only way we can have even 11 people get together in the same room is if we do it responsibly by knowing that everybody's tested coming in. And then, and in fact, I'm still curious. I'm going to bet we'll all be wearing masks during the class to be safe, because we have people coming in from all over the United States. But man, those tests, like I thought I was rolling my eyes about the oh my God, I have to get on a Zoom call to have myself monitored to do whatever. But it turns out it was less about the monitoring and more about the very specific step-by-step instructions that they had to give to make sure that the sample was sent in safe. You did one, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I went to a place and somebody administered shit.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. This was not an at-home test. This was not anything like. I went to a place. The first time it was a LabCorp, which is like one of the companies that processes these results. The other time it was a similar test, but it was done by a non-medical company. And then the rapid test, it was at a clinic, and I had a nurse like shove the shit up my nose and then run it through the beep bop machine and tell me that I was clean.
Yeah. But and in those cases you have a responsible somebody, making sure that nothing is messed up. And if you're going to totally let it be remote, I mean, it was like at the time I was rolling my eyes, but by the time it was over, I was like, I am so glad I had a coach very patiently walking me through every specific detail.
You do not want to go into a world where that shit is contaminated, or like after you wait for as long as it takes to fucking do, then you don't fucking know. Like shit you don't want to fucking deal with. Everything I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I have to cancel my trip to fucking Jacksonville.
Okay, well, all right. That's as good a moment as any to punch out.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm so excited. We talked about Secret Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Look, talking comics, talking writing. This is literally my bread and butter, baby. That's what I do.
Yeah, right on. Well, good. I'm glad it wasn't an inconvenience for you.
No, never. You're never an inconvenience.
See ya!